To prepare for our quiz, we're going to do a little practice to start off today. We're going to look at our two forms of quick graph. In the first type, we had the graphing of the intercepts. And in the second type, we were graphing using the slope-intercept form of a line. When I'm looking at graphing the intercepts, I'm starting off with standard form, ax plus by equals c. And I'll find each of the intercepts by setting the opposite variable to 0, and then I'll graph those 2 points. When I'm using the slope-intercept form of a line, I need to identify the slope and y-intercept, which sometimes means we have to put it into that proper form first. Then we'll graph the y-intercept, that point on the y-axis, and then we'll start from that point and find at least one additional point using the slope. Let's practice. Starting off with the intercepts, we might encounter some problems as easy as here are the intercepts, graph the points. So just to refresh your memory, let's do a couple. -3 is the x-intercept, a point on the x-axis. The y-intercept is 4, a point on the y-axis. All you need is 2 points to graph a line, and there it is. So we always started off with those easy ones, and then it just got a little bit more involved. We want to be able to find our x and y intercepts. These 2 points that were given in the first example were not given in the second. So let's start by finding the x-intercept, which means we're going to set our y equal to 0. And we said we don't have to do this middle step, but for the sake of review today, I'm doing it. This cancels out. I'm left with -3x is equal to 6. And once I divide, I get the x-intercept is equal to -2. Let's now find the y-intercept. That means x is going to be equal to 0. That now leaves me with, again, showing all the steps. 2y is equal to 6, and divide by 2. Y-intercept will be equal to 3. Remembering that this point here is -2, 0, a point on the x-axis, so we'll go 1, 2. There's our first point. This is now when x was 0, y is 3, 1, 2, 3. And once again, we have a graph. Both of these just happen to be graphs with positive slopes. If we need to see more, please feel free to ask. The second thing that we'll see on this quiz is graphing the other quick graph method, which was using slope-intercept form. We spent some time last session on this. We want to be sure, first of all, that our equation is in slope-intercept form. Y is equal to mx plus b. Then it's easy to identify our slope, rise over run, and our y-intercept b. This slope is telling me it's positive. It's going to go up 3 and over 5 when we're graphing it. Okay, so now let's start at that y-intercept. The graph always starts at the y-intercept, that point on the y-axis, and we'll see that it's a +2, 1, 2. Since my slope is positive, it's telling me again to rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I wanted to do a second point, I could go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would connect my points. Second example, I have y is equal to -2x minus 3. My slope is -2. My y-intercept -3. Remember, when it's a whole number, it's over 1. It's negative, so it'll go down 2 and over 1. Where should I start graphing? At that y-intercept. -1, -2, -3. There's my point on the y-axis. Because my slope is negative, it's telling me to go down 2 and over 1. I could do it in the opposite direction as well if I wanted to, just to get another point. But we only need 2 points. Let's put an arrow at both ends. And that's what we'll be encountering in our next quiz. You may also be asked to graph a constant, so if I say that y is equal to 4, and I give you a graph, let's just put a graph out here so that it's a little bit easier to see instead of my trying to do a rough sketch. And we'll graph this one. Let me just make the graph a little smaller first. Let's make it a little smaller. And I just want to make a second one, so I'm going to clone that. Just give me another second here, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so here's my first constant, and I'm asking you to graph y is equal to 4. Well, if y is always equal to 4, I'm going to find 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm just going to do that line across, horizontal line. If I wanted to graph the other constant, which is x is equal to, let's say, -3, I find -3 on my x-axis, 1, 2, 3, and I know that x will always be -3 regardless of my y value, and there's my other constant. We should be able to recognize positive, negative, 0, and undefined slopes, as well as being able to use our quick graphs to graph these linear equations. That's what you'll see on our quiz. In our last session, we were working on writing equations, which is our next topic. Now, I sort of flashed this slide on, but I didn't talk about it yet, and I'm still going to bypass it for a moment. I want to go back to the easy ones, which is where we left off last session, and we did the first two. Remember that when I'm looking at this, I'm just giving you the information. So I have y is equal to, well, 1 times x is just x plus 4. Now in the next problem, I see that b is equal to 0, so there is no y-intercept, or actually the y-intercept is at the origin, I should say, and that's now y is equal to -4x, 5/4 times x. The last problem, y is equal to 0 times x plus 2. Well, anything times 0 is 0, so I get an equation that looks like y is equal to 2. So there are some examples of the easiest way to write an equation, once again, when we're given the information. The second type we'll look at is what happens when they give me the slope, but they also give me a point. So I need to do a couple of things here. I need to find my y-intercept because I need that in order to write the equation. So they give me the slope and they give me a coordinate, an x value and a y value. What will we do? We'll substitute in those values for m, x, and y and solve for b. And I started it here for us. Y was 11, m was 4, all this information was given, x was 2. So now we'll solve for b. And when we do that, we'll just be doing what we know how to do, inverse operations. We'll go ahead and subtract 8 on both sides, and I'll get b is equal to 3. So if I know my slope is 4, and I know that my y-intercept b is 3, I now have my equation, y is equal to 4x plus 3. Let's just see one more of those. We'll start off with given the slope and a point. If I give you the slope and a point, we're just going to substitute them in. So here, let's take a look. Remember, I'm dealing with y is equal to mx plus b. This is my x, and this is my y. M is -2. So y, which is 2, times -2 times 3 plus b. 2 is equal to -6 plus b. Let's add 6 to both sides. And I get b is equal to 8. My equation will be y is equal to slope. So then I put back the x and the y to get the form that I'm looking for. One last one for today. Y is equal to mx plus b once again. What do I know? The y, the m, and the x. What am I looking for? B. 5 is equal to, well, 1/2 of 6 is 3. I'll subtract 3, and we get b is equal to 2. So my equation is y is equal to 1/2 x plus 2. We'll be doing more of these, but my main focus today was on the review.